Hello everyone and welcome to this lecture of Polity syllabus in detail. Now before starting, you will see that there are MP, LP and HP written on various parts of this document. Now by HP, I meant high probability or high possibility. By MP, I meant medium, and by LP, I meant low probability or low possibility. Now what I have done is that I have seen previous year UPSC question papers and I have seen the importance of these topics, and accordingly I have classified them in three groups of high, medium and low. That is the probability of them being asked in UPSC examination. Also, you will see O star written in many places of this document. Now by O star, I meant overview. Now what I mean by overview is that you should just know about these topics in brief. You do not have to study each and every part of this topic. Say, for Constituent Assembly, you do not have to study each and every debate of Constituent Assembly. You should just know why Constituent Assembly was formed and what were the important arguments given in Constituent Assembly. Similarly, for objective resolution, you should just know what objective resolution was and what were its salient features. Like this. I hope it is clear to you how you have to study O star topics. So let us begin. In historical underpinnings and evolution, you should know about various acts from Regulation Act to Indian Independence Act, what were the features of this act, and how did these acts impacted Indian Constitution. Then we have Constituent Assembly, objective resolution, enactment and enforcement of Constitution. You should just have a brief overview of this topic. Then we have amendments. What were the list of significant amendments and their provisions? See, some of the significant amendments were 42nd, 44th, 86th. Then from current affairs point of view, we have 99 till 104th constitutional amendments. So why these constitutional amendments were made and what were their provisions or features should be known by you. Then we have procedure for amending Indian Constitution under Article 368. Then we have basic structure, the doctrine, the definition should be known to you. What is the basic structure, doctrine? Then the judgments, that it started from Shankari Prasad Deo case. Then we had Golaknath case. Then we have Keshwanand Bharti case. And in Keshwanand Bharti case, the judiciary derived the basic structure of constitution. So this timeline of cases should be known by us with a special focus on Keshwanand Bharti case. Then we have features. What are the features of basic structure of constitution? Secularism is one of the features. Free and fair elections is one of the features. Federal structure is one of the features of basic structure, like this. Then we have significant provisions. In this we have fundamental rights, directive principles of state policy and fundamental duties. Now see, for prelims exam, what we used to do is that we used to make a song or mnemonic to remember the fundamental rights and directive principles of state policy. But what it does is that it takes 2 to 3 minutes to remember certain fundamental right or directive principle of state policy. But in mains exam, you will have only 7 to 10 minutes to write an answer. So you are wasting your precious time if you are remembering it via song. So what I would recommend is that you remember each and every fundamental right in a standalone manner. Say what 14 is, what 15 is, what 17 is, what 19 is, or what 23 is. This will save your time in mains examination. Then we have features. What are the features of Indian Constitution? Socialist, secular, written, flexible and rigid, federal and unitary in nature. Then we have functions and responsibilities of union and the state. So in this we have 7th schedule, that is the division of power. Then we have legislative, financial, administrative and quasi-judicial functions between the union and the state. You should know how these functions have been divided between both of them. Then we have issues and challenges pertaining to the federal structure. In first we have federal structure in India. Is it truly federal? See, we know some features of our constitution are federal in nature, but others are unitary. And we have some provisions in our constitution like emergency provision which turn our constitution from federal to unitary. Then we have cooperative, competitive and combative federalism. In this you should know about the definition of each one of them and should have a handy example for each one of them. See, for cooperative federalism the example can be GST. For competitive federalism the example can be Niti Aayog's ease of doing business ranking for each state, which ensures competition. For combative federalism, we have misuse of CBI. So you should know about definition and examples for each one of them. Then we have center-state relation. In this, we have legislative relations, administrative relations, and financial relations. Then we have trends in center-state relation. What has been the trend? See, during the Congress era or the one-party era, the center used to be all too powerful, and the states were at the mercy of center. But with time, what has emerged is that the center's power has decreased, but the state's power have increased, not only in financial sphere but also in administrative and political sphere. The powers of state has increased. So this has been one of the trend in the interstate relation. Then we have interstate relations. In this, you should know about interstate disputes. What are the various water dispute, the boundary dispute between Maharashtra and Karnataka for Belgaum region, and other disputes. Then we have interstate councils. In this, we have Article 263. Then we have interstate trade and commerce and the zonal councils, which have been formed under State Reorganization Act 1956. Then we have emergency provisions. In this, we have Article 352, 356, 360. Okay, when they can be applied, what are the consequences of when they are applied? One of the consequences is that center becomes all too powerful. Fundamental rights take a dig. Okay, there are financial consequences also. Then again, you should know about various other articles such as 358, 359, 365, which are related to emergency. And then we have SR Bommai case. In SR Bommai case, the Supreme Court termed what will be the proper use of precedent rule and what will be termed as improper use of precedent rule. So that is why you should know about SR Bommai case. Then we have role of governor. One of the role of governor is that he is head of state, but another role is what it does is that it acts in a partisan manner and as an agent of center and tries to destabilize the state government if it is of opposition party. So these are the issues with respect to government. Then we have reports of various commissions. In this, we have second ARC, Pucci and Sarkaria commission. You should just have a brief overview of the recommendations of this commission, what they have recommended with respect to center-state relation, interstate relation, emergency provisions, role of governors, and various other provisions that are there in these reports. Then we have devolution of power and finances to local level and challenges therein. What is the role of state government in devolution of power to local bodies? What is the role of state finance commission in devolution of finances to the local bodies? Then we have 11th and 12th schedule. What are the provisions of 11th and 12th schedule and how they have ensured devolution of power to local bodies? Then we have reasons for ineffective performance of local bodies and the steps that can be taken to improve their performance. And at last, we have Panchayat Devolution Index by Niti Aayog, how it has ranked various states, what are the parameters it has used. So this more or less concludes our part 1 of polity syllabus discussion. In next lecture, we'll be discussing part 2. Thank you.